unhinging from everything that is untrue about who you are, like unhinging from all the paradigms and the conditioning and all of these false identities that we take on and absorb in order to just get by and just survive in the world. And like what happens when we take those shackles off and essentially, live in truth and live in the alignment of who we truly are, that's where the world really starts to shift. At least our internal world shifts. And through that, I think there is these massive ripples of consciousness that will eventually be circling in the matrix, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have a surprise for you.
Oh, hello. We're talking about my tits. Most of the time.
Girl on girl on girl.
You would.
Like, stop picking up the fucking hot knife.
Fucking cares.
Right on track.
Ugh.
With a lot of money, I would do great fucking things.
But not in a good way.
Yikes.
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 Yikes. Where's the realness?
Yeah. Everything you want.
Immaculate experience.
Back down.
You're getting like excited.
I do actually.
need tequila.
Exactly. Please do. Please flash us your tits.
Well,
You haven't done that in a while, so I feel like
I
we're
know.
overdue.
We're due.
Every new season, please show me your tits and how magnificent and
Wait, has this
fascinating
happened
they
on
are.
a podcast? This has happened on a podcast?
Oh yeah, she
Yeah.
likes to do shit like right before we go live, so I start laughing. But like because people aren't watching the podcast, they don't know what's going on, and she does it before like in the countdown. So
I like to fuck
It's
with
always a
Kelsey right
surprise.
before we go live.
Yeah,
Just
I
as a
like it.
surprise.
I
You
like
never
I
know.
like it.
You never
You
know.
never know. Well, welcome everybody back to the podcast. Today we have a three-way.
Girl on girl on girl.
Yep. Triple girl central today. And we have my magnificent friend, Yana Robinson, here to dive in with us today. Yana, you and I have known each other, gosh, I don't even know how long. It's been a good, 6 or 7 years since we saw each other in person. But, we've known each other, I'd say,
10?
at least a decade.
10.
At least
Yeah.
a decade, yeah. And so there's been so many different seasons that we've seen each other through. And I love what a force you are in the world. This is the one thing that when I think of Yana, I'm like, she's a fucking force to be reckoned with. And I'm like, if every woman in the world just got a taste of that magic, I really believe the world would transform, because there is this gumption, this spark, this passion, this aliveness that comes through you no matter what you're doing, whether it's your poetry, whether it's your teaching, whether it's your surfing, whatever it is that you're up to in the world, you just have this oomph and this power behind you. And I love watching you shine. It's just so special and so beautiful. And I want to see more women like you activated in the world. And so I love that you've taken on this role as teacher and, bringing women into the fold to have these conversations and to activate their own power and their own truth. And it's just such an honor to have you here today. And I'm so happy that our worlds have collided again. And I'm excited to see where the conversation goes today. So thank you for being here.
I don't like those words of affirmations to kick off the day. That was really beautiful. I actually want to just also say, yeah, it's been nice seeing each other over a decade. And I listened to a little clip of you speaking the other day about the woman. I think you were on a different woman's podcast, and she was saying, how do you be less needy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you responded saying around validating our needs. And Kelsey, there was a moment when you spoke that I could feel people listening, including myself, like an actual shift in consciousness in how grounded and how eloquently it was communicated. And I was really, really moved. It feels like your teacher part is so dropped in and embodied and grounded, and I felt my consciousness shift. So I got out of the surf and I was driving here just feeling grateful for you, and also grateful for the space and everybody that gets to hang out and hear your wisdom and be expanded. So thank you for the words, and I echo it all the way back, all the respect and admiration And yeah, and I'm like so happy to be here because I think more women need to be unhinged. So let's go.
Agreed. Agreed. And like this is why I'm so in love with Christine because she like and thank you for that. I received that. I don't want to step over that. Thank you. And to have a business partner who really amplifies that permission to be unhinged. Like I don't know what it is about the two of us when we get together, but like vortex is vortex and and I agree like more people and more women especially need to be unhinged and we look at it from the vantage point of unhinging from everything that is untrue about who you are, like unhinging from all the paradigms and the conditioning and all of these false identities that we take on and absorb in order to just get by and just survive in the world. And like what happens when we take those shackles off and essentially, live in truth and live in the alignment of who we truly are, that's where the world really starts to shift. At least our internal world shifts. And through that, I think there is these massive ripples of consciousness that will eventually be circling in the matrix, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have a surprise for you.
Stop. Stop. Oh, you have, can I send you more?
So we have to pull this clip for the
Yeah.
podcast and put it on our socials. Just that slow roll of the naked
Yeah.
woman riding the shark mug. So I was over at Mark Grove's house years ago, and I'm obsessed with great white sharks.
The
Like
raccoon, wait, did you have a raccoon necklace that you were wearing in this situation? Did you used to have, this is very random, but
raccoon?
there
No,
was,
no,
no, no,
no,
no.
no, 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 no,
I'm
no,
so
no,
sorry
no.
to interrupt you. I actually think I remember this, but keep going. I think I remember.
I was at Mark's house, and anyways, it's like a known thing that I'm obsessed with great white sharks. Like I'm terrified, but I'm obsessed. It's that like really twisted like line. So I remember, I don't even know, I was at Mark's house, and he like saw this, and he was like, I feel like you need this. And I was like, I need this. If anything represents me, it's this right here. A naked
Yes.
chick riding a great white shark. Like that I know
Bano,
I know I've made it in life when this is happening. Like she's throwing $100 bills off the shark, and she's just like the shark and her are fucking one.
Champagne
And she's
showers into the
champagne. She's
ocean.
got a bottle of fucking champagne, actually probably tequila, some really high end tequila,
Yeah.
and some $100 bills riding a great white shark. Like life is officially complete. If I can like jump off the yacht onto the great white shark, that would be even better. But anyways, I'm just laughing because I don't actually know you very well. I met you once. I don't even know if you remember, but this is my first like. Mark's like, you have to meet my friend, yada yada. And then we were at Scandinav Spa, and you were in town, I think from California, and Mark was there, and I think he introduced me, and you and I got into some fucking weird like deep vortex really quickly, and you were like, I like you.
I like you. I like you now. So yeah, I imagine I like you then.
Well, you're like, I think because you have a really good, like, my sense, and again, I don't really know you, but I would say that I think you have like a really big bullshit detector, and like you can read truth and authenticity very quickly, whether somebody's like there for the show or whether somebody's actually there for truth. And so I think probably you and I were just like, energies are sussing each other out. And I think we were like, so it's really cool to, when Kelsey mentioned your name, I was like, oh, fuck yeah. I'm like, she's the one who created the woman riding the great white shark. Like she doesn't even understand, but she's been in my life for
Changed my life.
She changed my life. She's in my life for years.
Wait, was this at Mark's Kitsilano spot?
You and I met in, yes, so I do. He gave me this in Kitsilano, but you and I met in Whistler at Scandinav Spa.
At
Yeah.
the silent spa, talking.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we were talking. 100%.
Classic.
I'm like getting some inklings, but I actually remember when he gifted that to you. I feel like there was a photograph or something that was
Yes.
sent. And maybe there was a raccoon on something. Maybe not. That's where I'm going with this. I remember him talking about you being like my friend Christine, and then this is exchange. So sorry, I'm like circa Kitsilano days, but
No, that was totally Kitsilano days. So that's like I'm just excited to get to know you more and to, just to hear more about your magic. And Kelsey speaks wonders of you, and she's like, she's super unhinged. We got to get her on the podcast. It's like, fuck yeah, let's go. Let's go. We need more unhinged. You know what's so weird is like the word that keeps coming in, like as you were talking earlier, I just kept hearing this word, like you're like indestructible.
Mm.
I don't know what that really means, but I heard this like she's like indestructible, but in like a soft way. It's not like it's this like hard masculine. It's just this like
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't matter what happened to me, I've got it. Like it's that kind of energy, you know, when somebody's like super anchored and super embodied. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's that word just popped in. I was like, that's fucking weird because it sounds like super like transform. It's like very like intense or like superhero. But I was like, I don't know. There's this like indestructibility that you have.
I appreciate that. I feel that part of that is absolutely true. I'm also a super soft, mushy. You know the talk where
Yeah.
the philosopher's talking about lobsters and they shed their
Yes.
shells and they outgrow their shell. And for anyone listening who hasn't heard that, basically when lobsters outgrow their shell, they have to just go hide under a crevice like a little mushy thing, completely exposed while they grow a new shell. They don't just like pop on one like a crab. Um, and I feel like I've been doing that for so long and I've been crucified so many times.
Mhm.
And yeah, I still am okay. But that being said, I do go to therapy sometimes and sit down with my therapist, Larry, and go, am I okay? And he's like, you're okay. You're okay. So it's both. It's, yeah, I agree that like, there's a combination of, you know, I think after working online as a started as a poet and a writer and then also with the other work that I've done, but using my own story and experience largely in my stories to teach, yeah, you know, there's an understanding that I am okay and I will be okay because I've really had it all. I've had types of being crucified and targeted and all sorts of things that almost made me give up, and then I didn't give up. And one in particular was when I was writing about grief because somebody close to me committed suicide, and somebody in the friend group of that person didn't like that I was writing for publications about my grief and how I was feeling, and um, created a story that I was just capitalizing off of my grief, and it was about making money and having content. And he contacted every publication I wrote for and asked them to take them down, and then individually called all of the people in this community that I lived in, and for 2 hours at a time was trying to tell them all of these things about me, and then created a real Yana Robinson Facebook profile and started to publicly attack me online.
Jesus.
Followers were fighting him back, and I had just lost and was in the grief of somebody that I thought at one point was going to be my life partner had left, and I was so not strong and very soft and very caught off guard by the being the scapegoat of somebody, because when you're feeling anger and you're fixating on something, you don't really feel pain. um, and yeah, went through that entire experience and almost wanted to give up sharing my voice because it was so painful. And then I continued, and I talk about that also. I talk about that experience because it was enough to quit. And I think, and you know, I ended up on the Today Show being bashed. And I made an article about Botox that was really I felt like it was misunderstood. And like the Sydney Morning Herald and the New Zealand Morning Herald were like, American beat poet Yana Robinson slams women for getting breast reductions who have
Oh
like
my
back
God.
problems. And I was like, that's not what I
What?
said. I said that there was a woman and I couldn't see her face anymore because she had so much plastic surgery. And I
Yeah.
was sad that the beauty industry has shaped us to think that beauty looks like one thing since we were 5, that we think that we need to sometimes get work done to get love, which is actually me saying a big fuck you to the beauty industry and advertising industry for the shaping it does. And what I said, I'm sure I didn't say it that gracefully, but yeah, I got slammed on the Today Show, and for actually the opposite of my work. It was like Yana's disempowering women. Survived that. Also had a boyfriend at the time who was terrified of being in the public, and they found photos of him, and he was on the
Oh
Today
no. Oh no.
Show. That was really, really funny. So yeah, there's been also wrote an article about my experience with an abortion. That was the first truth I ever shared, and my process in if I wanted to go through with it. This was in 2015, and was called everything from Woman of the Year to Murderer by my first man I ever slept with, who is Christian and was my first boyfriend. So, yeah, I feel like I've gone
Yeah,
through the
you've had some
stakes,
initiations.
had some. So I'm okay, everybody. So if I'm okay, you'll be okay. You can share that thing probably.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh
People
my
are so
God.
scared to share even like very like beige medium things that are like, have a whisper of an edge. And then here you are being like, here's my deepest, darkest stuff. And here's everything I'm moving through. And oh, maybe
Like,
that feels like that indestructible energy though, because it's you can feel a lot of softness from you. Like it is. It's like that like strong back, soft friend. Like you're still like you're like you've got that like backbone, but you also have the ability to still stay open even through the fighting against you. You know what I mean? Like it's such a beautiful thing, I think, to have more women like that who have. It doesn't mean you don't get hurt, and it doesn't mean you don't have to ask whether you're okay. Sometimes it doesn't mean you don't need support, but it's this like I don't know. There's this energy when I think especially when women have been through something and through a lot of those initiations and a lot of those what I call holy fuck moments, dark night of the soul. There's an energetic you can feel from them where you're like, you just can't really fuck with them because they're just not really available. And I think that's what I'm really reading from you is just like there's this like so softness, but there's this like also this like
Xena the Warrior Princess.
Yes.
yes, like you're like totally. It's like I'm gonna love the shit out of you, but I might slash your tires if you fuck with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
beautiful.
love
I
it.
love that. Yeah, and also as I'm sharing all of those pieces, um, telling the truth as a writer. So when we're talking about abortion and some of these pieces that I feel, telling the truth has just been the thing that's totally changed my life. And also, I used to write for a long time and not tell the truth. And that actually, that article I wrote, which if anyone wants to read, is called Aborting Shame, One Woman's Experience with an Abortion, and it's on Elephant Journal. Um, that article, I did get Woman of the Year and Murderer, but it was the first honest thing I ever wrote. So before that, I'd been using my voice, but it was like 7 sleepy teas for fall, or just the shit, the fluff. And I wasn't even planning to write, but the day after my abortion, I was laying in bed and this piece just flowed out of me. And it had the whole process of, the moment where I went, oh shit. And my truth was like, I don't want to be a mother, was the very first thing I felt. At first, I was actually like, oh, did my boobs came in? This is happening? And then it was like, oh no, no,
I
no,
know it's
that's
happening.
that's not real. And then it was, I don't want to be a mother. And then I had to walk through this neutrality and non-neutrality of people in my life and their opinions and projections of what they wanted to do, um, including a doctor who, from a very misguided, unprofessional space, when I was asking for my options based on where I was, he said, don't get an abortion, you'll regret it. And that stern ass Xena the Warrior Princess conversation I had with him, where I said, if I was a 14-year-old girl who had not yet found the spine of who I was, those words could have really impacted me. And like, be careful and just do your job, give your medical opinion. And all these other pieces. I have a shamanic teacher who gave me an exercise I did by my fire, by the wood stove the morning before, because there's a lot of discrepancy of like, when does a soul enter the body? And yeah, I didn't know. And I went, hey, if you're here and you've chosen me and I want to have a conversation with you and I want to be really clear and sit. And so I wrote about the conversation that I had and how I told that little soul, like, hey, if you have arrived and you were here wanting to do life with me, thanks for choosing me. It's really not the time. And if right now is the moment that you want to be born and you want to go choose a different mom, if you want to go choose to be somewhere else, then I support that. And if you want to come later down the line in my life when maybe I'm more ready to be a mother, then like I would love to do life with you, but it is not the time. And I shared all of these pieces and then I sat on it for a long time because I didn't want to share it for attention. I didn't want to share it to shame the boyfriend who didn't show up for the appointment, shared as changed his phone number and like completely
Fuck.
abandoned. Changed his phone number. Didn't even
No
have the awareness of
fucking
like, well,
hell.
the day of. Um, so I wanted to be really clear. I think also anyone who works online, I mean, I've overshared. Everyone's overshared. I didn't want it to be an overshare. And um, I ended up choosing to share that piece of writing, which scared the shit out of me because it was so raw and so honest. And I ended up sharing it because I hadn't read anything about abortion like that. There was nothing in my process. I was reading Khalil Gibran the Prophet, trying to find wisdom in poetry, but it was like, how helpful would it be if some other woman would have shared
Mm-hmm.
some of the things she walked through in getting into her choice? And um, I did get Woman of the Year and Murderer. I also had 400 comments, messages, and emails from different women. And one of them said, I was 15 and my dad dropped me off at the clinic and told me not to tell anyone, not even my own mom. I'm 40 and you're the first person that I'm telling. And so telling the truth, not to be dramatic, but at one point my life really stopped and I had to start over. And I feel like it saved my life to tell the truth about the changes I needed to make and to pursue my gifts, my dreams, take actual actions. And I later got to witness how telling the truth in my writing gave people this place of solace and gave people a place to, like, I call myself the shame exorcist. It's like if I bear the stuff that we feel shame about, I help other people realize that there's nothing to be ashamed of. And so telling the truth, it is not about a overshare for, I'm very conscious and aware of why I tell the truth in my writing. And it is viscerally hard every time that I do it, really, genuinely. It doesn't ever get less scary with doing it for 12 years because you're taking your insides and you're putting them outside for people to look at. So that will continuously feel a little bit unsafe because one of my friends, Boyd Vardy, who's a lion tracker, and works, his family owns Lundalozi in South Africa. And I remember saying to him one day, like, do any of the animals isolate themselves from the other animals in the animal kingdom and go like, look at me, look at all this stuff? And he's like, no, you'd die because
Yeah,
I
you'd be
isolating
lunch.
yourself. Yeah, you'd be lunch. So I feel like lunch every
Yeah.
time, and I do it because I think telling the truth is one of the simplest, most radical ways of getting our power back in our body
Mhm.
and showing other people that they are not alone. And
Mhm.
actually, it marks baby blessing in Sedona. I had a woman come up to me and she said, your name, Yana, means you are not alone in my
Oh,
language. So I really feel like that's part of my work. Like,
whoa.
continue to get crucified out there and go
Mhm.
first in some of those pieces. And yeah, so thank you for the words and the pieces. And I also did want to clarify and just sharing some of those big things, my why of where it's coming from, because when somebody is raw like that, I think there can be confusion too of like, where is this rawness coming from?
Well, and you see so much on social media where people are pimping their story and they're using it and they're extracting from it in order to gain validation or gain popularity or gain, whatever it is that they're trying to get. And so, like, there is this distinction between sharing from an aligned, truthful place of service versus a performance extraction where you might get a lot of those accolades and that attention right away, but there's a massive blowback that happens on the back end of your own life. And I mean, I resonate with so much of what you've shared because that's been largely my path too, which is probably why we like dance with each other. And I remember the first time that I wrote something from that place of truth. It was this article, and it was a really big blog at the time. If I can't remember what it's called, but the article was How Herpes Healed My Life. And I had been sitting on that for years. And I was dating someone new, and it was the first time that the way that he interacted, like I'd had a lot of good experiences when I told men in the past, but like this felt different. Like there was a final like click in of like, oh, okay, I've landed in my system. I've accepted this fully. I've worked it through in all of these layers. It's been years that I've been working with this medicine that I like to call herpes. And then I'm like, you know what? I think it's time to write about it. And I'd had a conversation with my girlfriend who was like, my friend owns this blog and I think you really got to write for it. And so I reached out and she's like, yes, please write the article. So I write this article, I put it out there, and like my partner at the time, who is like so loving and accepting, and like I'm ready to like press publish, I publish it and I share it. And I'm like, I've literally slayed the shame of this. And then all of a sudden he gets all weirded out and he's like, well, I don't want my parents to read that article. And I'm like, hold on, but you actually have herpes too.
Yeah.
Like, what? I'm like, and you're the one who encouraged me to do it in the first place. And then all of a sudden I'm out in the world and like it's that same thing. I'm now exposed and like the person that I thought that I could lean on is now like, ooh, no, 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 no. You can't do that. You should hide that. Like, don't share that on your social media. And I was like, you clearly don't know who the fuck I am, because now that you've told me not to do it, I'm going to do it 100 times more. Like, I'm going to get even louder about it.
How can I sponsor this article to go
How do I
out?
boost the post?
Boost every person. Who's your demographic? Everybody in the fucking
Everybody.
world.
Pick up his family members. That's right.
Exactly. Target, send it right to their DMs. But it was one of those things that even though like I could feel his shame about it, I didn't do it for his approval. I didn't do it for him. I did it because it was the thing that would set me free. But I also knew how many women were dealing with this and men were dealing with this in the shadows of their life. And it's been crazy to see like inside of my private containers how many women are like, when you talk about it, when you've shared this, it literally changed my life. It opened up this space of like, I'm not alone. And like, maybe this isn't this terrible thing that happened to me. I'm like, and I think that comes down to like my experience with it, where I had a doctor who was basically like, listen, I'm going to whisper in your ear, do not repeat this, but like, I shouldn't be telling you this, but you can actually heal this out of your body. He's like, you can heal this. It doesn't have to change your life. And I'm like, what? He's like, I can't tell you anything more than that. He's like, I came from India. Like, I'm trained in Eastern medicine. Western medicine does not allow me to tell you anything. I could lose my job here, even for just telling you this, but you need to know. And in that interaction, I was like, oh, miracles are real, angels are real, and everything is happening for me. And this is one of those initiations that literally kicked off my spiritual journey. It kicked off my entrepreneurial journey. Like, everything that I have in my life, I can nail it back down to that diagnosis, to that moment in time where that's where I made the consciousness shift, where I was like, this is not going to be my life. This is, no, I do not accept. Like, I accept it, but I don't accept, the identity that often comes with that. I'm like, no, I'm gonna learn how to alchemize this. And then I could see like all of these other parts of my story. I'd met a man 10 years before, almost, in Nashville, who the last day that we were in Nashville, he's like, you need 2 books. I need to go get them for you. I'm like, okay. So he gets me, it was a Dan Millman book was one of them. And then the other one was The Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. He's like, I don't know why you need this, but you need it. And I was like, okay, crazy. Like, that's fine. Like, I'll take these books home with me. I put them on the shelf, didn't think anything of it. And then fast forward to when this diagnosis happens, I have a book that gives me the exact blueprint of how to start healing this out of my body and sets me on the rabbit hole of like investigating and finding out what I need to do to heal on an emotional level, a spiritual level, a physical level, a metaphysical level. Like, and so to me, like, not sharing that story rips people off. But there are so many people who come out of the woodwork who just want to attack. and like discredit me and be like, that's not possible. And like everyone who's attached to the medical industry complex is like, that's not possible. Like you can't heal that out of your body and out of your life. I'm like,
I,
well, yes, you
I had
can.
a, I had a, I had a very similar. I love this piece, and I also wrote you. I don't know if you remember because
Mhm.
I also had a very similar experience of I had an exposure to somebody who had herpes, and I
Yep.
always get tests every time I have a partner. I get everything tested. I'm very A
Yep.
type, and I tested like right on the edge of like you've had an exposure,
Mhm.
and that at this clinic, which is called Healthtopia, like Utopian Healthcare, love them, and Sanitas. The naturopath took me aside and said, there's something called Synergy Pharmaceuticals. I think the company has now been shut down, but it's all natural. And people are testing negative after taking this for herpes. You can heal
Mhm.
this. It doesn't need to
Mhm.
define your life.
Mhm.
And I took it because at the time it wasn't, and I tested negative on the blood,
Mhm.
my next blood test
Mhm.
for it. I never had an outbreak, but I was right on that precipice of like, hey,
Right.
it's about to happen. And um, I I had a really interesting experience though because I have a lot of integrity. So I was right when I was kind of figuring that out. I went to go. I was like making out with this guy, and I'd said to him, "Hey, like I'm kind of in this weird space where I don't really I like hadn't had an outbreak. I don't feel like I'm diagnosed, but I just want to like share this with you."
Mhm.
And he didn't want to keep hooking up with me, and I, on the other side, had had a partner like 7 years before who we were kissing, and all of a sudden he started to cry and started to say, I need to tell you something. And he had so much shame around it.
Mhm.
And when he shared at the end of it, I was like, I date to find my life partner, although I
Yep.
haven't. And I was like, hey, like, if I was somebody who would reject you because of that piece, if I thought that like you were my person, I would be
Mhm.
so ugly. And that would be such a
Mhm.
reflection of like my character and who I was that I would need to have shame around. You don't need to have shame around this.
Mhm.
And it was so interesting to have like like to have had that and then have this totally opposite experience.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just want to share that I wrote you too. I think when I
Mhm.
found out that I had, because I remembered that piece and I remember you being brave and courageous and 100% you're the shame exorcist too. We will share
Mhm.
that. We'll share
Mhm.
that. We'll share that piece.
Yeah, shame slayers over here.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, but for
Yeah. Have you
shame.
heard of Synergy Pharmaceuticals?
No, you were the first one who I had ever heard that from. But like I
Okay.
just went down this rabbit hole of like natural healing, and
Mhm.
I'm sure like a lot of the same technology or the same, avenues that they're using in their products are things that I found. And it also like came down to the emotional aspect of it and like really healing my shame around sex and my shame around being in a feminine body, and like there were so many layers to it, and it was so complex that it's not, I don't share the whole complexity out in the world because again, like not everybody is equipped to hold that, but the ones who can hear the message, they come into those, deeper levels of doing the work or like deeper levels of relationship so that we can have those conversations, which kind of reminds me of like, back in the day when witches would, come together and like our covens and like kind of like these secret, not secret, but secret, circles where we exchange this information and we support each other in our healing and our transformation. And I love that that thread is like weaving through this conversation as well. Like it's so powerful. It's like a return home, is what it feels like.
Mhm.
And it's so much
Mhm.
easier when you just fucking tell the truth. And like, very similar to you, I'm like, well, if I tell someone this, and like, it's crazy because my tests have come back negative as well, even though like I had an outbreak, and like by all like
Mhm.
visual, like it would look like that was, the case. And then all of my tests have come back negative. And
Mhm.
so, and I've had cold sores in the past. So like that shouldn't be happening,
Mhm.
but that's what's happening. But there
Mhm.
was still a part of me very much like you. I'm like, well, integrity is one of my top values, if not the top one. And I feel like this is an important thing to just loop people into so that they can have full consent in their choice of what they're doing with me.
Mhm.
And also, if someone reacts poorly to that, it immediately tells me that they are not the type of person who's aligned for the type of partnership that I want to create. They can still say no, but how they react to that information tells me everything about their character. Like, I never went into it with like, you have to choose me. More so like, here's the information, choose.
I
And
did a little bit. I was like, what do you you're rejecting this? Fully honest. I was like, what? I've never been rejected in my life.
this is a weird sensation for me.
Much more mature over here with Kelsey, yeah.
I think we need more of this, though. We really do. Like, I know, like, one of my, so Kelsey and I have our podcast, and I also have a podcast called The Holy Fuck Moments. And one of my highest episodes was called Divorce, or it was like Christmas Eve, Divorce, and DoorDash. And I just got on the thing, and I was like, hey, everyone, I'm sitting here with sushi, and it's fucking Christmas Eve, and I don't have my kids, and this is fucking weird. And I don't know how to navigate. And like so many people wrote me after that. It was a short, like 14-minute episode. And it has like 4 times, like, I mean, that podcast is all about like me just riffing and on whatever's happening. But I find those stories, or if I'm working with a client, or if Kelsey and I are coaching somebody in the club, like we're just like, this is the reality. And it just helps. I find that storytelling, like people are always saying, they're like, holy fuck, like, hearing you just unapologetically say it with just a lot of neutrality and just like a lot of love and just like compassion, and like, yeah, that makes sense. It just, I find it helps people alchemize their stuff they've been sitting on for so fucking long so quickly. So we need more truth tellers. We need more women who are like, yeah, this is the reality of life. Like, I know for me, I swear to God, when it comes to reading books, my ADD, I'm just like, I can't. Like, I read it and it's like the same fucking line. I'm like, I can't. I can't. I'm like, I like to listen to podcasts. I like to listen to things. The one book, and I just picked it back up, that I can fucking read. See, there's 2 books front to back I can read. It's Glennon Doyle's Love Warrior. I read it front to back. And Jenna Jameson's How to Make Love Like a Porn Star. Okay.
I love you so
Okay. So I've just picked it back up. My boyfriend's like, what are you reading? And I was like, don't worry about it. And
Holy grail.
well, and it was the book that got me wanting to write. Like, I know I'm meant to write a book. I have like 20,000 words just sitting there. And actually, Mark put me in touch with somebody from New York like years ago. And she was like, this is a fucking great idea. You just need to make it basically more like beige. And I was like, no, I can't do that. And, but I love how in her writing, it's so fucking raw and it's so gritty. And she gives like detail into like scenes she has to do and getting raped and getting like, it's so real and so human and so like dark and twisted, but also just like so many lessons in there. I was like, oh my God, like this is how I want to write. This is how I want to read things. This is how because it's true. Same thing with Glennon Doyle's. Like, she talks about her pain and just like what she's going through and her divorce and these pieces. And I'm like, I don't know. There's so much bullshit and fluff on the internet, and Kelsey and I as well. Like, this is why we created Club Unhinged, is because we just said, we're like, we need to make personal development great again. We need to bring back authenticity and truth and storytelling and just like the realness of the journey, because I think there's just a lot of stuff that's fed to people that's very fluffy and it sounds cute and it's 7 steps to be happier. And I'm like, have you met your shame? Have you done any shadow work? Have you felt the pain that your fucking 4-year-old is like harboring that's affecting your fucking business and your ability to like, there's just, you know what I mean? I think it's like, but we bring a lot of fun and a lot of humor and a lot of playfulness. So I think we need more of these stories, and we need more women being brave and bold. And I think the more we're willing to just like lead and go first and say, okay, fuck it. You know, it's like first line in the arena. You're going to get fucking shit beat, right? Mm-hmm. But when I think of like what it paves the way for like the little girls moving forward, or society moving forward, or the collective, or like the little kids moving forward, it's like the greatest work you can do. So I just like love how, you know, even your TED Talk, Kelsey, about the gifts of infidelity, and you know, that really impacted me, because I think when you're going along the journey, and especially if you're here to help the planet and leave a legacy and help people, we don't generally have it easy. We have to walk through a lot of these fucking initiations. So it's almost this like pathway, you know, lighting the torch for the person who's just a step ahead of you or a step behind you, or whatever these things are. I think we need more of this, and I love what we're all doing, and just makes me feel even more excited.
Me
Yeah.
too. It reminds me of this quote I shared on Instagram the other day. Like, leaders don't tell people what to do, leaders go first.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it really resonated with me because there is this distortion of leadership, which is like, I'm just going to get on my pedestal and I'm going to tell you what to do and you need to listen to me. Versus like true leadership, which is embodied leadership, which is I go first. Like, I don't ever expect someone, especially in romantic relationships, like, I won't expect someone to go first if I haven't revealed that part of myself first. Like, a lot of women do this where they'll put the other person on the spot, where they're like, you tell me how, like, this big open vulnerable thing, and then depending on your answer, if I like it or not, then I might open and tell you mine. And this is why it gets so fucked up in relationships, because we're playing this conditional game versus I'm stepping into my leadership, which is I'm going to reveal what's true in my heart. I'm going to reveal what I want. I'm going to reveal how I feel. And then trusting that if someone is in resonance with me, they're going to take that serve that I just did over the net and they're going to volley it back and they're going to share their piece. But like I learned that in Landmark. Like, you want something, you want people to open, you open first. You lead the way. You go first. Do not put someone on the spot and expect to get an authentic answer from them, because it's never going to happen. You're going to get the masked answer. You're going to get the performative answer. You're going to get the armored answer. Versus you get the truer answer when you open and go first. And like, this is the thread that, all of us are on here and in this conversation today. And I'm just so freaking obsessed.
I should have been on this podcast a while ago, by the way.
Yeah.
This is great. Also, I'm coming, Christine, I'm inviting myself to your personal podcast, so we're going to have another conversation. And I also want to, when you're talking, one of the things, when somebody says something to you, you just, like, usually we hold on to the negative things, but this is like a positive thing that I've heard in my brain of, I had a woman once who was interviewing me, and she said, when I found your work, I didn't know that it was on the menu to be a woman like that.
Mm.
And I really needed to know that that was on the menu. And I think when we go first, and my poem, This Is for the Women Who Don't Give a Fuck, title of my first book that's been read 2 million times, is literally, you can be a woman like this, you can be a woman like this, you can be a woman like this, you can be a woman like this. And people thought that poem was about one woman. I'm like, no, 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 no. That poem was about a permission slip for women to be who they are in whatever way they want and to put it on the menu. But we don't have that. One of the reasons I use boldness, also humor, um, is I think that when we have the courage to be really bold, it creates this space for women to play around with what type of bold or what type of flavor of ice cream they want to be. But like, people are like, there's cobwebs on her vagina as the title of your second book. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I did. They're like, your first book's called This Is for the Women Who Don't Give a Fuck. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
because like, you can do that.
You literally can do whatever you want.
You can do that. I'm okay. Actually, that book sold 23,000 copies. I'm more than okay. I'm in the 1%, baby.
Yeah.
Eat that. So, like,
Mhm.
so it's like, yeah. And I mean, like, I didn't put a star word in the word fuck, and there was repercussions for that. But I wouldn't, because I'm like, this whole book's about not conforming as a woman. I'm not conforming the word fuck. We're not putting any stars in there. But yeah, I love that you guys are here putting it on the menu for women, and both of you are such amazing. I'm so glad you collaborated in this. Like, both of your energy is beautiful, and fun and playful. And yeah, I agree. I walked onto a stage in 2020. Do you remember those like face shields? Did you
Oh
ever
God,
see
yeah.
those?
Yeah.
I was speaking at a conference in Banff as a keynote, and so I use humor openly as part of how I teach as well.
Yeah.
And I walked onto the stage and I kind of like hit my face on it, and I was like, Jesus, this is like having sex with a condom on. That was my opening.
Oh, it's so good.
I also asked to have WAP as my song. She was like, I don't really know if that's,
Yes.
but yeah, I I think it's important to use humor and boldness, and yeah, and humor is like, people who are funny are also very intelligent. I don't think we think about that sometimes, but to be funny, you have to be like sharp as a nail.
Yeah.
You have to be
You got to
like
be on.
on. Yeah. So I love humor. Humor is one of my personal values that sometimes comes into my work, but it's a huge, but also grace. So there's like a line with humor and grace of
Sure.
walking those. But yeah.
Girl, I feel you. Like, I'm the meme queen over here. Who knew that I'd be curating memes and like making
They're so
fucking
good.
I know
They're
they
really
crack me
funny.
up. They crack me up. And like I think that's why they do so well because I'm entertained. Like I'm poking fun at myself. I'm poking fun at patterns that I see out in the world and then I'm like we can use this as a teaching moment. Like we can use like humor as the vehicle for transformation. And not everything is going to be on the humor train, but like we can really get there and like open up these conversations in a non-threatening way. And then when we have to have the real, rich, honest, graceful, like reverent conversations, that's within my range too. And so like for me, like my whole philosophy is like embracing the full range human and like being a full range woman. And so it fits with like this whole concept of like, yeah, it's on the menu. Like, let it be on the menu. I fucking love that so much. I just also got a vision of like a Club Unhinged conference where it's like all of our favorite like unhinged baddies and like we just fucking fuck the rules and make our own. Like that's the tagline of the conference and like we can do whatever the fuck we want. Like
You
you
should
think you know what a
absolutely.
conference is? You don't know what a conference is.
You should. If you want me to whop onto that stage, I
I
will.
do. I do actually.
I actually
Totally.
don't have those skills. I'd have to like learn them, but
It's
I can
okay.
commit to that.
That would be so fucking epic. I was in a mastermind breakout room and like the woman were like, I think the question was like, oh, if you had to walk on stage, what would be your song? And it was some other question. And all the women were like, it was very like, oh, I would choose like, it was like Celine Dion. It was like very like,
Celine Dion.
or it was, I don't even know. It was like, it was just very like, Taylor
Ethereal,
Swift.
yeah.
And I was like, I would choose Gangnam Style. And they were like,
You would.
and I was like, can you imagine like that beat is like, as soon as you hear it, you're like, fuck yeah. And you get on and you're just doing the dance. I mean, like, who's gonna, it's just like, I love to shake up the energy. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like I say that it's like, because people are like, you're like, it's like a lightning bolt. Like, people are asleep at the wheel. And when you get something like that throws you off, or the shit that you and I say,
Oh yeah.
we're like, we're making up words. I'm like, well, yeah, well, she's a Cuntosaurus Rex. And Kelsey's like, I can't. Like, it's just like these words, like, or like obsesticles and like these fucking weird
Words that
fucking
we make up.
things that we make up. And the women in the club are dying, like it's because it's like, I think humor supercharges learning, right? It's like, you can't remember that. I'll be working with clients and like the weirdest fucking analogies come through. I was joking with my client yesterday. I'm like, well, you left the healing halfway house. I'm like, and then we picked you, I'm like, but you've been in burnout. So it's like, imagine you're at like you've been in a fucking barn rave for like years and you've been fucked and hopped up on drugs. Your drugs are adrenaline and cortisol. You're fucking off the rails. I'm like, it's like somebody came in the middle of the night, put a bag over your head and drove you out to fucking buttfuck nowhere. There's no cell phone service. There's no anything. I'm like, we gotta detox. You're detoxing. And like, anyways, I'm giving her these analogies and she's fucking dead. She's like, I can't not remember this. And I was like, that's the point though. You know what I mean? I can tell you of like, okay, we'll just think positive thoughts and think of we'll just undo this stress and tension. Just think about all the things you want to do and just start doing them. Like that's a lot of the industry. I'm like, what? Like, no,
Where's the realness?
you're like a crack addict. You're hopped up on crack and you're dripping cortisol and adrenaline and your system is hungry for it. I'm like, or I'll say, I'm like, you're like a dog with a bone. I'm like, you're like a pit bull with a bone. Like, drop the bone.
Yeah.
Drop the bone. And they're like, oh yeah, I gotta drop the bone. I'm like, see? Because I find as well, like, it's just, I think the industry needs more of that kind of like, just that explosive, disruptive. And Kelsey, when we're talking, we're not doing it intentionally to be like, okay, well, what do we say to make people,
Like
to be off rattled up. We're not doing it with that intention.
It just happens.
It just happens, and that's what you and I, the other day, we were talking, we're like, we really need to have a TV show or like just do some Instagram lives, like unhinged car chats, because we were driving together. She's dropping me off downtown, and we're in the car, and the drivers in Vancouver are just fucking horrendous. So we're driving, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Kelsey and I are both like yelling, or like some stupid, like something comes through, and I'm like, are you fucking stupid? And so we're like off the rails yelling, and then 2 seconds later, this like songs in the background, her and I at the same time are like, we're like, fuck you, you fucking ass hat, go to, like, oh my God, eat a dick. And then like 2 seconds later, we're like,
Having fun, dancing. Like, none of that happened.
and then Kelsey and I look at each other, and we started snapping. We started doing this and like like smiling and snapping. And I'm like, oh my God,
Just happened.
what the fuck is happening right now? We're dying because we're like, this is so funny, because it's almost like we're kids again. Like you can see how kids go from like totally melting down to like happy in 2 seconds. And I'm like, it's almost like we're able to move energy really fast now, where we're not making anything mean anything. We're not like, oh, I'm so bad for yelling at that person. I'm like, we're trying to bring back humanity back into spirituality. Like I've had clients, ask me, they're like, okay, so should I stop drinking and having sex? Should I not be, should I be doing that because it's more spiritual? And I was like,
no one drinks anymore.
I was like, listen, bro, if you want to fucking go and bang the shit out of that chick, then treat yourself. And he's like, what? And he's like trying to like, you're my like spiritual business coach. I'm like, yeah, like do what feels good. It's not about like what you do. It's the energy. It's the intention. Like, why are you doing it? Like, I'm like, it's kind of like, I think we just need to bring more humanity back into spirituality and transformation and all these pieces. Because I just think it's like, there's so many pieces that are villainized and I'm like, I fucking obsessed with a spicy marg. Like, yeah, sure, once in a while I get a little too drunk and I might feel like a bag of dicks the next day, and then I don't drink for a while. But like, it's just, life becomes so stressful. It's almost like transformation has become, and personal development has become so stressful for people because it's this extra rigid thing they have to do and perform. Like, I even know for me, when I got back from just some of Dr. Joe Dispenza's events, I had this like, okay, now I need to meditate. So I was getting up at like fucking 4:30 before my kids got up. And then I'm like sitting there and I'm like meditating. And then my kids come in, they're like, Mom. I'm like fucking pulling the thing off. I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay, hold on. And then this thought hit me. I'm like, Christine, you're fucking you're a psycho. You're getting up at 4:00 in the morning. Like, first of all, no. And second of all,
not on brand.
You're meditating so that you can be calm for your kids? How about you just stop being a cunt face to your kids and just chill the fuck out and like be like, oh, like I'm trying to do this thing to get me to the result. How about I just fucking do the result? How about I just am kind to my kids? And how about I understand that like I've got kids and this is the reality of my situation, and can I flow with that versus like having these rigid. So it was just like all these moments where I just got so fucking bitch slapped and humbled, or like,
It's so good. And I have to say, it's like, it's so needed to have people teaching. Like, you know how like when yoga teachers are first teaching, they have like this yoga teacher voice. There's like that voice. That's a part of embodiment and dropping into what I'm like, hey, guess what? It's a stage for your why. Yep. You can play rap music. You get to express yourself. And I think that there's a part of development as in personal development or things where everyone's like, there's a voice to this, and this is what the voice sounds like. And it's like, no, actually, personal development gets to be an expression of however you want to talk. Yes. So I love that. And it's important. It's important to like have it. Yeah. And I hate that. I launched a program 3 years ago called This Is for the Women Who Don't Give a Fuck, the Mastermind. And there was a line that said, let's be really clear. This is a place for personal development, but it's also a place for bad bitches. That was on the top of the application because I was so sick of just self-help. And I met with a coach. It was like my first 5K offer, and 4,000 women filled out the application. They were very excited about this bad bitch space. But had this business guy who was like, you should teach people how to be a writer. I was like, nah, I'm going to do like a bad bitch thing. And women loved it. But it wasn't, you don't have to talk a certain way, or exactly what you're saying around more humanness in these pieces. I just want to really encourage that as well, and just say, yes, 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 yes. It's not about, I am perfect and enlightened. And so I teach. At least for me, it never has been. For me, it's been
so not relatable.
It's like, here's what I think, believe, know, and if that adds value to your life, amazing, come hang out. And if it doesn't, there's 900 other flavors of ice cream out there that you can go learn from, because everyone's a different flavor. There's like Mel Robbins and Tony Robbins. We got lots of Robbins going on. But like, everyone's a different flavor of gelato, and you guys are definitely like a We're in the spicy
Spicy.
maracuya. We're in
Yeah.
that spicy flavor set.
Yeah.
We're in the cayenne flavors
Yeah. Oh
over
yeah.
here.
We are cayenne for
Nice.
sure.
If you don't like a little spice.
Yeah.
Turbo caliente flavor. Oh, it's like that thing of like,
Amazing.
I'm either gonna love this or I'm gonna be like on the toilet for the next 6 days, one of the two, and I don't know which one it is, but I'm willing to fuck around and find out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
One of the
Exactly.
two. One
And
of
I
the
love
two.
like a life like powered by truth in that way. Like it allows you to pivot. It allows you to change. And you're not stuck. Like I think when people get into these identities of like this is how I'm supposed to look as a personal development person, then as you grow and shift and change, then you go through this whole fucking turmoil inside because you're like, well, I'm changing, but like my persona needs to stay the same because that's how I get my sales or that's how I get my love or that's how I get attention. And like when we actually deconstruct all of that and we just bring authenticity and truth to the table, all of a sudden you can move and shift and change and grow into all of these new evolutions of you. And when someone's like, you've changed, you can be like, yeah, fuck yeah, I did. Well, you haven't? Like, uh, I don't know, like, why you're judging me for changing. Like, maybe you should try it on. Like, it's fun. It's, there's some transformational value in that. And at least for me, like, if someone comes at me and be like, you said the exact opposite 5 years ago, and be like, okay, yeah, I did. And now this is what's true for me. I've changed. New information is coming through. Like I've had new experiences. I'm allowed to change my position, just like you're allowed to change your position. And so it becomes this permission slip, like you said at the start of the session today, of, whatever's on the menu. And like you can change the menu at any time. Like, and that's the cool thing about being a woman who's unhinged and a woman who's in her truth is that you can move and flow with the current of your life and allow yourself to keep expanding and exposing yourself. Not, I don't mean that in a sexual way, but like maybe in a sexual way, but like exposing the truth of who you are and like letting that be seen and letting that be known and letting it be okay that you're a full range human who has the shadow and the light and the good and the bad and like all of it gets to belong. I know Kai said that to me like 8 years ago when I was going through a fucking doozy of a breakup, and she's like, "You know what, Kelsey, like you don't have to perform, like every part of you belongs here." And it was the first time someone had ever said something like that to me, and the exhale that happened on my nervous system, and it stuck with me. It's like one of those imprints that I have of like this forever changed the course of my life. And it became the thing that I would just run with. I'm like, oh yeah, like everything does get to belong. Everything is sacred, everything is holy. And, you know, I love being in that space of like true liberation. Like that's what it feels like to me. Like this is true liberation and true freedom. What did that hit?
I'm loving this because I have this program that I'm doing, but I have this free thing that I do, and I was
Yep.
meeting with my ads guy yesterday, and he was like, so if you could tell people like what's the like transformation inside of this? And I was like, belonging,
Mm-hmm.
liberation,
No way, no way.
sovereignty as well, but also like, so I'm just like, yeah, yes.
So what
But
you
like,
don't know, Yana, is that I was like remote viewing that meeting yesterday, and I was like eavesdropping psychically. Just kidding.
well, it's true, but also like we can all belong, but belonging in who we really are
Yes,
for all of those parts of us is
yes,
such a different type of
different type.
belonging.
Yeah.
And you have to unravel parts of how you belong in ways that don't contain the truth of who you are to then create belonging in who you are. And you may lose people in that process,
100%.
but they were only there because you were showing them a version of you that you weren't, that they were resonant with. So then when you are yourself, they're not going to be resonant with that anymore. But like, that's not really a loss
Yeah, exactly.
either.
Tell us about this event.
Yeah, tell us
Yeah,
about the event.
yeah. So it's called Meet Yourself in Truth. I had this little line I wrote the other day. It was like, sure, but have you tried telling the truth?
I saw that in your bio today. I was like, oh, that's good.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't know why we turn to so many things, but so much of what we turn to are avoidance or distractions from the truth that may cause us to rearrange parts of our life. And I mean, travel was one of the ways I liked. I was like, I'll get on a plane and be on it in a totally different way in Costa Rica for a little while. And then I'd come home and be like, ah, shit, my life. I still gotta fix that job thing and that thing. And so I have a 1 year program called Your Truth is Your Medicine. That's one of my core elements, because really what I've worked with for 10 years as a coach, which we didn't talk about at all, but that's fine. I went from writing to also coaching, because I was spending 4 hours a day responding to comments, messages, and emails, and people were like, how do I make honest art? How do I have the sweaty, uncomfortable conversation with my partner? How do I? And it was always truth. And so I started to coach, and then I did coaching for a long enough time that it was like, okay, I'm saying the same things over. My curriculum is teaching to me. So I made a program. We've had over 1,000 people move through this 1 year program. And it's about creating belonging through who you are. And when someone's like, well, that doesn't sound very fun. What's really fun about it is the liberation and the freedom. Kelsey and Christine are perfect examples of this. They are fun because when you feel safe to be all of who you are, that's when your playful parts come out. Yes. That's when I've had boyfriends that weren't very emotionally safe be like, could you be more fun? I'm like, could you make it a little more safe here? Because if it was more safe, I'm really fun. Yeah. So if you want to have more liberation, more joy, more aliveness, more color in our lives, we have to have the courage to rearrange our lives to take shape, and our cells change every 7 years. So of course you're going to evolve. And so my work has largely been about, can we show who we are to the world? And yes, things will fall like dominoes sometimes out of your life, and there will be grief, and that will be hard. But in its place will become all this life that you wouldn't even have dreamed about. And so I've worked with people on looking at like family, city, job, relationship, friendships, like all of the different environments emotionally in our life, and how honest we're being in those parts. And that's my core program. But I do this little free 10-day experience every year where I love the vulnerability of teaching something live. I love having people in the room. It gives me energy. It makes me excited. I don't want to just hit record. So I refine and I film Meet Yourself in Truth live. And we look at before you go and create belonging in who you are, because that's a beautiful commitment, but it is a commitment. What's the truth of how you're running away from who you are? And so we do a whole session on vices, numbing, because you can drink 5 glasses of wine and your husband might be more tolerable, but what's the truth behind that maybe you're feeling disconnected in your marriage, and it would be good to have a conversation. And then we talk about those masks that we wear, and how connection, you have to be authentic to have true connection. So if you're feeling disconnection in your life, you have to try telling the truth and being who you are. And then we look at all those limiting beliefs that people have around why they can't rearrange parts of their life. And for me, the biggest one was money, because I was broke when I changed my life. And I was like, you need money to change your life. And I was waiting for 10 grand. That never came. And I ended up babysitting for the family that owned this cabin in BC to be able to afford to change my life, but I figured it out. So I deconstruct all of the beliefs that we have around why we can't rearrange our lives. And it's free. I do 6 hours of live course filming, and then I do 3 whole days of just hot seat coaching. And there's catch-up days in the middle, which is why it's a 10-day event. And there's a 24-page workbook. Generosity is also, speaking of values, one of my biggest core values. And I think that business also gets to be really giving. It should be a giving. It should be a contribution. And so I'd love to have anybody who would want to come and have a front seat with this. And it's basically 10 days of free personal development. And I am a totally different flavor of ice cream from anyone that you have learned self-growth from. And I am also maybe not as fun as Christine and Kelsey. I feel like they're maybe even you started with a 3-way comment. Actually, I don't know if you heard me, I kind of spit my coffee out. I was like, we're okay.
Okay.
But I'm fun too.
You are fun.
So come meet yourself in truth and hang out. And and if you like poetry, there's cobwebs on her vagina, and this is for the women who don't give a fuck. Yes. You can find those on the internet. Thank you guys for putting personal development and space for people to become who they are also on the menu. In the way that both of you do, because I've been on like 20 podcasts the last 2 weeks, and this one's been the most fun. That's also true. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we love
Gets
it.
to be fun.
It
Gets to
does
be
get to
fun.
be fun. It does get
Yeah.
to be fun, and that's, why we choose who we choose. Like we don't just let anyone come on. Like we've had people reach out and be like, "Can I be a guest?" And we're like, "No."
You're not fun.
You're not fun. You're not unhinged enough. Is the truth of it. Like
Mhm.
we can still feel like you're hinged into this very conventional paradigm. So no, you can't come on Club Unhinged. Like
Yeah.
absolutely not. And so it was just such an easy yes to have you on the show, and I'm so excited for your event. I will be there. I'm so pumped for it. And
And
the
spoiler alert, are both of you teaching the teacher?
no,
You
it's
should
just me. Yeah.
just Kelsey. Okay. We're doing in the 1 year program, which is coming. It is coming down the line. Kelsey's going to be a teacher of truth in the program as well. So spoiler alert, but I've added like 17 new teachers of truth this year. Kai's one too. There you
Oh,
go.
amazing. There you
Yeah. So spoiler alert, but yeah, I'm so excited to have you in the program because
go. Same.
you live this piece, and the teachers of truth are people who live truth in the world. So
Yeah,
yeah.
very similar to, Club Unhinged guests and anyone
Mhm.
we bring into our vortex, like, because there has to be that level of impeccability and integrity with the infrastructure of the brand. And like, and I know that we resonate with that and you resonate with that. And I'm just so excited to welcome you into our community and for our community to get a taste of you. And thank you for being here today. All of those links are going to be in the show notes, so you can sign up for Yana's free event. It's from June 2nd to the 12th, correct? Yeah. And then we'll also put the links to her books because she's amazing and a badass, and we love her. And you should definitely get her poetry books too. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having
And friends, we'll be back next week with something else. We don't know what. We'll find out probably 5 minutes before you do. Okay, bye, friends. All in all, we want to say thank you for being here. We love and appreciate you so much. And if you liked today, give us a 5-star rating. And we'll see you next week.
And share it. If you know somebody who needs this in their life, share this shit. Abundance goes round and round. We love you.
We love you. Bye.